Hey everybody, this is Blake here. I'm going to be doing another episode of Review Memoirs. We're going to be discussing my review of Martial Horror. Now, I was first introduced to Martial Horror all the way back when he did his first movie video review where he talks about a bunch of movies, and I thought it was okay. And but the more I saw of him, the more I realized that this guy was kind of a douche, and he really had no right to complain about any other video reviewers out there, and that the whole concept of critiquing the critics was stupid. And of course, when he talked crap about Cat in the Brain, who does that? That was a great movie, even if 90% of that film is from other movies. Literally, it's stock footage of other movies. But so I really did not want to review this guy. He did not deserve it. He's not funny. He's not insightful. He just talks a bunch of big words, and that pretty much convinces his fanboys that he knows what he's talking about. But what can you do? No, okay. No, I decided to review myself after somebody, I think, recommended that I do so, that it would be kind of funny, and I was like, yeah, that actually does have a lot of potential for some good jokes. And of course, at that time, I really wasn't aware that I wasn't the comedian I am now, which is just below average. So I decided that that would be my last episode of the season. And I was actually, in a way, considering retiring the show then, just because it was a lot of work, and I just did not have the patience nor will to see it through. And at that point, I was a lot busier. Sort of. It's kind of difficult to explain. But by the time I started filming it, I decided, nah, I can go on longer. I just want a few months to myself. I look forward to these few months every time I gun to them, where I don't have to worry about critiquing the critics. But so the main reason I wanted to do this as my last episode was that I was envisioning the scene at the end where I'm arguing with myself, and of course I'm pretty sure I borrowed that whole concept from somebody else. I can't remember what though, where somebody was arguing with themselves. Oh, it must have been the Nostalgia Critic. He had done that. What was that one? That Hulk Hogan movie, I believe, where Christopher Lloyd says, "I was frozen today," and I thought that was a great little gag there. And that probably is why I decided to do the same thing, which I'll discuss a little bit in my next Guidelines Not Sucking at Video Reviewing episode, where I pretty much point out that that was kind of a mistake on my part. But so I definitely made that one. And I actually didn't expect the review to take off that well, because remember, at this point, I wasn't very popular, even, as far as unpopular YouTube nobodies go. I think I probably had no more than 100, 200 subscribers. I don't even remember anymore. But so I figured, since the only people who will watch this video are my fans, my more devout fans, it's not going to do too well in terms of hits. And it actually did okay, all things considered. It's not one of my more watched reviews, but at the same time, it's not one of my bigger failures either. And for the most part, people were really positive about it. A lot of people liked it. As for what I feel, it wasn't bad, I guess, for that time. There are some moments that I'll watch and I'll be amused at. I was impressed that I thought of a certain joke or how I delivered that said joke. And then some of my points I thought, were fairly interesting for that time. It wasn't an embarrassment for me, even though, yeah, some of my comic timing was off. At one point, when I'm arguing with myself, the martial horror of the past or whatever, I'm wearing that old polo shirt. I'm like this, and then I get up and start talking. That was just bad editing on my part. I was probably reading off the script, and then I got up to do the line, but I really should have cut that part out. This is actually one of the first episodes where I was pretty much word for word going off the script. There wasn't a single line changed. The only difference was when I say something about moronic Mark early on, I was intended to say that differently, but otherwise, it's almost identical to the original script. And some of my gags don't even really make a whole lot of sense in context. Like at one point at the end where I say, "By the power of continuity," then suddenly my box cutter turns into a knife. it made more sense in my head when when I did it at the time, but in retrospect, I was like, "What the hell did this come from? Am I forgetting another review where I referenced something like that? Maybe I was just making fun of my bad continuity." Hopefully that's it. And then I pull out my sword. I actually collect swords of all different cultures. For the most part, I have Japanese swords, but I also have some Chinese swords, a French saber, a broadsword. It's actually easier to get Japanese swords. My dad's a karate teacher and he sells shit like that. But that was my cane sword. And it was for some reason at that house at the time. Most of my other swords were at my other place, and I just decided to dish that out, and that was pretty fun. Even though it was kind of weird because the way I had to refilm it a few times because when I'd open it, it was difficult to tell that it was a sword because I was kind of opening it like a Zatoichi does, and so you could just see the from the way angle you'd see it, it was hard to tell. So I had to make sure I turned it weirdly so you could see the sword and all its, so you could see it was an actual sword. But all in all, for what I could do at the time, the review wasn't bad. Some of my comic timing actually worked fairly well. It was really difficult doing the parts where I'd argue with myself, but then it would be like the audio parts of that. So you'd have me on screen and you're supposed to hear the other martial horror off screen. That was weird, and I was not easy, and I think I could probably do it a lot better now, but at the time I was really proud of that, and I should probably not have done the "I was frozen today," at least the way I delivered that. That's something I don't generally agree with now. But all in all, it was fine for what it was. I had a fun time making it compared to most of my videos where I'm usually in misery. And I was glad that a lot of other people liked it too, because with a lot of those older videos, once again I look at with embarrassment, but people's enthusiasm for it and the fact that I even didn't think it was that bad makes me proud to have done it, I guess. Anything else I could say? I was going through a lot of old footage, and I actually found my lost creepy bald guy review of, I believe it was Howling 2, but the new Howling 2, I hate that I have to remind people of that, but I think I go through most, if not all, the Halloween movies, and it's not edited or anything, it's just raw footage, so I'm considering going back and just, putting that together just for fun. I was hoping I'd find my original director's cut of my reviewer review. Originally it was like 12 minutes long, but I couldn't do that, and so I had to cut it down to below 10, but I was really proud of the original cut, but I can't find it, which really bothers me. But otherwise, that's really it. Would I do this again? Would I do a re-review of myself? Probably not. The joke's over, but I might do Critiquing the Critics quickie, a mini episode where I kind of update my style. But even then, I have to think of a good way to make it satirical, because you can't really review yourself without being satirical in some way, shape, or form. So I need to do that, but you never know. So that is all. I hope you enjoyed this video. There should be a guidelines episode up in a day or two, probably two, but I'll see you guys later.